So today's discussion is, why is the Lord known as Arupa? Arupa Vadevahi Tat Pradhanatvat. Why is the Lord known as Arupa? And we will see different reasons for that. Starting from the most basic rudimentary reason, and we'll proceed all the way to the most complex understanding of the Supreme Lord. So, as we know in all the Vedic literatures, the Lord is sometimes many times he is referred to as Arupa. He has no form. So, what does that actually mean? So, the first line of reasoning that we can come to is that the Lord does not possess a material form, and that's the reason why he's known as Arupa. And what do you mean by material? It's like the Lord's form is completely transcendental to our mundane senses. So our conception of the Lord's form is, when we look at the Lord and we see the Lord through our mundane vision, mundane intellect, and we compare the Lord to various objects of this material world, like a lotus flower and stuff like that, because we think that the Lord, or when we look at the Lord's deity form, we think, oh, the Lord is only this much beautiful. So we think the beauty of the Lord, we cannot see it with the mundane eyes. The same Lord is deity, and the Lord are not different, but our vision is like kind of blurred by a yogmaya curtain, and so we are not able to see the true beauty of the Lord. So in that sense, whatever forms we are conceiving of the Lord in a mundane state, it's all like temporary, and it's based on our mundane calculations. So the Lord's form is far more beautiful and far more things. So it's nothing of this material world. So that's the reason why it's one of the reasons why it's known as Arupa. Now we'll go for a more intricate reason, and this we have to come to for this we'll have to understand the Vedanta Sutra. In, I think it's 3 point something in Vedanta Sutra, Vyasadeva says, Arupa va devahi tat pradhanatvat prakasha va chavayarthyat ahacha tanmatram दर्शिति छातोपि स्मर्यते अथ एव चोपमा सूर्यकादिवत् अम्बुवद ग्रहणात् तु न तथात्मवृद्धिरास भागत्वमन्तर्भावात् उभय सामञ्जस्य देवम्. So in this entire disposition, Vyasadeva explains why the Lord is known as Arupa. And then we'll go for one more step further into the depth of that. So in this case, Vyasadeva is very clearly saying Arupa eva devahi, Arupa vadevahi tat pradhanatvat. Evahi means only he is known as formless only because his being pradhana, or he is being the source of everything. So now you understand that the Lord is the source of entire material existence and spiritual existence. All of material and spiritual existence come or emanate from the Lord personally. He is the what do they call, the cause of all causes, and also the material and the there are two causes. One is the material cause, and then there is the other kind of cause. So the Lord is both the material and the what is that thing known as upadhi karana and nimitta karana. So in English it's known as upadhi karana is the material which is used for creating something, and nimitta karana is the technical things used for creating, just like a potter and the pot. The material cause is the mud, and the potter is the other cause, nimitta karana. So in the same way, the Lord is both the nimitta and the upadana karana. So in that sense, the Lord's body is the cause of all of material and spiritual worlds. Now when we talk about form, it has to have a beginning and an end. Just like we has to have delimiting boundaries when we talk about forms. So, but the Lord's two-headed form is the cause of the Lord's four-headed form, and then that's the cause of the Purusha avatars, and that's the cause of the material world, that's the cause of the spiritual world through Balrama. So it's the Sandhini Shakti of Lord Krishna is the cause of entire spiritual and material existence, all of things, including space, time, the concepts of ether, the very concept, the fabric of space and time itself is emanating from the Lord's body or Sandhini Shakti. All of existence itself is emanating from the Lord's existence or Sandhini Shakti. Because Sandhini Shakti or Brahma Jyoti or everything else that's coming out from the Shuddha Sattva Sandhini Shakti he is the cause of all existence. You cannot say that the Lord has a form, because there is no end to the form of the Lord. From the two-handed form of the Lord comes the entire universe. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Everything is coming from the two-handed form of the Lord. So the two-handed form never ends, because even your body, my body, the space, the earth, planet, everything that we see around ourselves, including space and time, is all a part of the Lord's two-handed form. So in that sense, he cannot be having form, because a form has to end somewhere, but the Lord's form, it doesn't end. Form means that which has got a delimiting boundary, and so outside the form there is something else, and inside the form there is something else. But the Lord doesn't have inside and outside, because everything is connected to the Lord and everything is emanating from the Lord. So the Lord does not have a form, because if he has a form, then there is an end to it. But the Lord's two-handed form is continuously connected to everything else. Like, the entire universe, everything is emanating from it and everything is connected to it. It's an extension of the Lord's two-handed form. So the two-handed form doesn't end in two-handed form, but it continues toward the whole universe. So Arupa va Devahi Tatprajna. Only the Lord, Arupa, the Lord is only known as Arupa only because he is the source of everything, and because he's being the source. That's the only reason. Otherwise, the Lord has form. He has a two-handed form, but only because it's the source. The two-handed is the source of everything in existence. That's the reason why he is known as formless. Prakasha Vachavai Yarthyat means Prakasha. He's compared to sometimes in the Vedas he's compared to the light, and Avyarthat. It's only because he is inconceivable. His form is inconceivable. For example, let's take the example of sun, Prakash. It's because if you see, the sun has got a form, it's a round form, but from the sun comes sunlight, and sunlight doesn't seem to be having any form. It's like spreading all over, like impersonally, it is spreading all over the universe, everything. But if you see each ray of the light, you will find the entire sun present inside each ray of the light, and it's connected to the sun, and you can see the entire sun inside the ray. It's a very inconceivable thing. So because the Lord's form is also so inconceivable, although the Lord has got a two-handed form just like the sun, but through his rays, he's spread everywhere. Just through his Brahma Jyoti rays, or through the existence rays, he's spread everywhere in the universe. And in every part of the universe, every space, time, everything, when you take a sample of that and you just see it, you'll find the Lord in that, because the Lord is completely present in each and every granule of space and time in this universe. So because it's such an inconceivable thing, how the entire Lord can be present in one granule, and how all the granules or rays are emanating from the Lord, and in each ray the Lord is present in full. So that can only be understood when you see the light of the sun. Sunlight is spread everywhere, and each ray of light there is a complete sun present. The same sun is present. So that is why the Lord in the Vedas sometimes is compared to light, only because it's avyarthat, because it is because he's so inconceivable. Not that the Lord does not have form, but because the characteristic of the Lord's form is so inconceivable to us that he's compared to light. So Prakasha Vachavai Yarthyat. And then Ahacha Tanmatram. That's the reason why he's compared to Tanmatras also. Like in Krishna says, I'm the taste of the water. So if this is the taste of the water, can he have a form? Yes, because even the taste is accompanying from the form of the Lord. Existence, Sandhini, is the cause of Samvit and Ladini also. Because Sandhini is existence, so she's the mother of everybody. So in that sense, the Lord's body is a cause of everything else. Just like our body, we exist, our body exists, and then from the body comes our mind, and from our mind comes our emotions. Similarly, the Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini, the Lord's body, the Lord's mind, or Lord's living force, his cognitive power, his very life force, and prana basically, and also his Ladini Shakti, which is his emotions, and his Ananda Shakti and his Rasa. So all of them are emanating from the Lord's body himself. That is, the Sandhini is the source. That's why in the Vedas many times Sandhini is considered as, or Sat is considered as, the source of Chaitanya, or Sattva is considered as so it's in that sense. So because the Lord's body is a source of all sorts of elements, even in the taste of the water, all these tanmatras. So that is the reason why he is compared to Tanvatras. Even the Lord is form, but the form is the cause of even feelings and other things like Tanmatras and perceptions and everything else. Whatever you're feeling, the Lord is the cause of that also. So you have to understand in that way. So the Lord's form is the cause of even Tanmatra. So sometimes that is the reason why he is compared to Tanmatra. So Darshati Chatopi Smariti. Darshati means this is the kind of vision that you should have. Acha atopi smaryate. Wherever there is that smaryate, means wherever there is in the Vedas, there is Shruti and Smriti are all known as smaryate. So wherever that in the Vedas I have mentioned that the Lord does not have form, or Lord is light, or Lord is tanmatra, you have to understand in this way that the form of the Lord is the cause of all existence, and that's the reason why he is sometimes known as formlessness, or is compared to light, or he is compared to tanmatras, because the source of everything is Krishna, Pradhana. And then Atha Eva Chopma Suryakadi. That's the reason why he is also compared to sun, just like the light and sun. So that is one of the reasons. And then Ambuvada Grahana Tuna Tathatvam. So, but in Tattva, you should not accept him like water. Means like Tanmatra, as we described, like Krishna is the taste of the water, but he is not the water. The water is not Krishna. Krishna is water, but water is not Krishna. Why? Because next shloka he explains. तून तथा वृद्धिरास भाक्तम अंतर्भावात उभय सामंजस्य देवम वृद्धिरास भाक्तम अंतर्भावात. Because of being the antarbhava, inner principle, he vriddhi rasa, or the increasing and decreasing quantities of the water, or the various transformations of the water, he is equally participating in it. Samanjasya devam, because he equally participates. He is not affected by the surface layer disturbances of water. Just like if you see water is very dirty, is there in a stool of an animal, water is present. So it's very dirty, but the atoms of the water, the inner principle, are unaffected by dirt, and whether the water is from stool or the water is from ocean, H2O remains the same. Hydrogen and oxygen remains the same. It doesn't get affected by, it doesn't get clean, it doesn't get dirty, because that's the inner principle. It's a quantum mechanical energy. So in the same way, the Lord being the quantum mechanical inner dravyam principle of matter, he is not affected by any of the transformations of the matter on the surface level of the material world, like the Mayaik world that we see right now. So the Lord being unaffected by that, he is completely different from it. So you cannot accept that water is Lord. Ambu Vada Grahanat, you should not accept Grahan, that thing, principle. Why? Because then otherwise what we'll do, we'll start saying that, oh, even the woman's beauty is Krishna. So let me, enjoy the woman, and then that is the worship of Krishna. No, although everything that is beautiful in this world is coming from Krishna, everything is coming from Krishna in fact. But that doesn't mean that Krishna is everything. In the sense, Krishna is separately located. Just like Krishna says, Yatha Mahanti Bhutani Bhuteshu Uchchavacheshvanu Pravisthanya Apravisthani Tatateshvanu Teshvam. In the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam, the last third shloka, he says that although the five elements are present in all the creation, earth, water, air, fire, ether is present everywhere, even the stool of an animal, they are present, but in the lowest and the highest animals, they are present, Uchcha and Avauchcha. So, but what is happening? But the point is that they are entering as well as they don't enter. Why? Because even though fire has entered all the places, all the matter everywhere, in your body also there is fire, because earth, water, air, fire, ether is the principle of, because fire is present in the earth element itself. So, but fire has separately situated in the space also. Although it is entered in all the places, it is entered and it is not entered. And when we worship fire, we don't worship the fire inside some stool or some dirty place. We don't worship the water. We worship Varun Dev, we worship Agni Dev in their original forms. We don't worship the things that they have entered everywhere. So everything is fire. No. The root is present in the leaves, but you have to water the root. You cannot water the leaves. Then the water will come to the leaves via the root only. Because the root is the root of everything. So Krishna is the root of the whole existence. So you have to water the root of the tree. You have to always worship Krishna, not the material world. Thinking that the material world is also Krishna because Krishna is the source of the material world. No, but that is not the way. So that is how Vyasadeva concludes. So this is the second line of understanding. This thing is that the Supreme Lord is known as formlessness. He is known as formless only because he is the source of all of existence. Only because he is compared to light. Only because he is inconceivable. His form is inconceivable. Light is the closest conceivable thing for us, by which we can understand the phenomena of all pervasiveness and localization. Like each and every ray has a localized form of the sun inside it, and taken on a whole, all the rays, they look as if they are impersonal actually. So that concept of contradictions can be resolved and understood when we actually understand this concept of basically localization and through the concept of a ray of a light of the sun and tan matras also. But at the same time, Vyasadeva warns us that although the Lord is this world, but this world is not the Lord. So Krishna says, the whole world is within me, but I am not within it. So it's like that. The whole world is within my grasp, but I am not within the grasp of the whole world. So if you worship the world, you're not worshipping me. But if you worship me, then you'll worship the whole world. It's like that. So that is Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, and this is also there in Srimad Bhagavatam also, Chatur Shloki, and this is also mentioned in by Vyasadeva in Vedanta Sutra very nicely. So this is about the form of the Lord. Second line of reasoning, that the Lord is known as formlessness because of the simple fact that He's the source of everything, and being the source, He's present in the effect also. The cause is always present in the effect. So everything is emanating from Him, and that's the reason why He cannot be having a form, because basically His two-handed form is also extended into the material world. So the material world is an extension of His two-handed form. So when Yoga Maya will cover everything else except the source, then by giving that knowledge, she can actually reveal Krishna, Yoga Maya. So using Maya only, Krishna can actually basically show his forms. Because when imagine there is a light source, a bulb, but the bulb is reflecting the light through hundreds of mirrors, thousands of mirrors. So you don't know which is the original bulb, which is what, everything, all the light is coming from everywhere. You cannot find the source. So if there is a Maya and she covers all the other sources, all the effects, and she only reveals the source of all that thing, like only the original bulb she reveals by covering everything else. So using that, by covering everything else, she is revealing the source. So similarly, when Maya covers everybody, then when Maya is not covering anything, then it becomes Brahman, Brahma Jyoti, the Krishna's body. But when she starts covering all of existence, you can see as Krishna. When Yoga Maya is not in effect, you see everything is Krishna. Why? Because Krishna's body is extending through the whole universe. Everything is Krishna's body. But then when Yoga Maya starts covering, then you see only Vaikunta. You see Krishna as a king, and then she covers further. Then you can see Krishna as a instead of God in Vaikunta he's God, and Mathura he's king, in the spiritual Mathura, and then finally you can see him as Golok Vrindavan just as a covered boy. So covered boy, like literally it's pun intended, like she's covering him, so he's covered boy of Golok Vrindavan. So this is how by covering Yoga Maya can reveal. So Krishna says, by my Maya, I manifest myself. So how can he manifest himself through Maya? Because Yoga Maya covers all the unnecessary things, and she reveals only Krishna. So that is how by covering she can reveal, actually, in fact. Covering the unnecessary portion is required for revealing the necessary portion. So unnecessary portion is all the emanations from the two-handed form of Krishna, which is all the universe, everything. When you cover that part, then you see only the essential part, that is the source of everything. That is two-handed form of Krishna, which is the source of everything. So by covering, she can reveal. That is one of the, just like the deity's dress can cover somebody and reveal even better. Like, it can make the darshan complete, the deity's dress. Because the dress and the deity are not different from each other. So in the same way, Krishna's Yoga Maya Shakti, of course, is not like a dress. She is very essence of Krishna himself. But by covering the unnecessary portion, she can reveal Krishna to the complete portion. So this is one of the understandings by which you can understand how this thing is working. Now the third thing, the most... and of course, you can also say he does not have form because he is the form. Now, generally we have things that we are not, like we have the body. But we cannot have a soul because we are the soul. Similarly, Krishna does not have a form. He is the form because he is non-different from his own form. So that is one of the things. We are different from our forms, generally, living entities. Just like a living entity... he is different from his name. His name, the characteristics of a living entity is that his name is just a kalpana. It is not a reality. It's just a name that is given, and the name can always change. But Krishna and his name are non-different. Even in the spiritual world, when we go, our names are different from us. It's not that when somebody calls our name, we are present immediately. That is only characteristic of the name of Krishna and Lord Shiva. That's why the Lord Shiva and Krishna have guna and leela and name, everything. They are similar in characteristic. When you say Lord Shiva, his name, immediately Lord Shiva Tattva is present inside the name of Shiva. Entire Lord Shiva is present. And when you say Vishnu, the entire Vishnu Tattva is present in the name. So the characteristics of Vishnu and Shiva's names are almost similar. So that is how you can understand Padma Puran's third aparad against the holy name when we consider the names of Krishna. Because otherwise, if Lord Shiva and his name was different, then he'll become a Jiva Tattva. That will be a Mayavad actually, problematic situation. So comparing Lord Shiva to us would be Mayavad, or comparing Lord Shiva to Krishna is also Mayavad in one sense. So when we say Vishnu, Shiva Tattva is already present inside Vishnu's name. And but when you say Lord Shiva, then Vishnu is not present inside Lord Shiva's name, but Shiva Tattva is completely present in Lord Shiva's name. So the name form characteristic of Shiva is similar to name form characteristic of Vishnu. In that Lord Shiva is not different from his name. So in the same way, but the Jivatma is different. Similarly, Lord Jivatma's form and everything, it is a product of Sandhini Samvit Ladini, and the Jivatma doesn't control Sandhini Samvit and Ladini. He is just a product. Jiva, Ishvara, what is that Vedic shlok statement, declaration is there. There is a which says Ishvara Upadhi, Karana Upadhi, Ishvara, Karya Upadhi, Jiva. The defining characteristics or Upadhi of Ishvara is that he is the Karana of Sandhini Samvit Ladini. And the defining characteristic of a Jiva is that he is a product of Sandhini Samvit Ladini. So even the form of the Jiva in the spiritual world, it may change depending upon what Krishna wants him to be. Like if he's a coward boy, he may have a form, he has a mental disposition of a coward boy. His knowledge about Krishna and everything else, through the Samvit Shakti, he will receive that knowledge which will assist him in being a coward boy. His vision of Krishna will be that of a coward boy. So it will all be like a friend of Krishna, and then his emotions or rasa will also be that of a coward boy. All these things are given by Krishna to the living entity. So his name form of a living entity is also is not like Krishna's name form. He cannot have a form actually like Krishna's. So it's different. His name, gunas, forms, and all a living entity are not exactly that way different. They are different from the living entity. Whereas Krishna, being the source of everybody, his name, form, everything is non-different from Krishna. He's the source of it. So he's non-different from Krishna. He possesses everything. So we are borrowing everything from Krishna. Even our very existence, Sat, and our own Chit, our life force, and our Ananda are all borrowed from Krishna. So we can possess. Therefore, we can possess all these things because we are individually, we are basically not the source of all these things. Whereas Krishna is the source, so he is non-different from all of these things. Basically, his name is non-different from his name. Whereas living entity, even in his liberated state, his name is different from him. So that's a defining characteristic. So this is very important to understand. The Lord cannot have names, he is the names. The Lord cannot have forms, he is the form. His name, form, paraphernalia, everything is non-different from Krishna. That can only be applied to Krishna. You cannot apply that to a Jivatma or living entity. The name, form, paraphernalia, everything is non-different from the Jivatma. You cannot say that. You can say that only for Krishna. So that's why Krishna cannot have the name form. He is the name form. So that is another thing. The word have cannot be used. Even in Sanskrit, such kind of words cannot be used for Krishna. So he cannot have a form, Krishna. So he is the form. That is another thing. I'm just passing over. And anyways, the last and the final understanding of this thing, which is like very radically different and which is very, very intricate and difficult to understand and grasp, is now comes the inconceivable part of the Shastra. Now, when you have to understand that what is Krishna's forms, you have to understand that. Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yova. Janma is Krishna's forms, how the forms are taking birth, how they are manifesting. That is also Janma. So if you understand the secret of the Lord's forms being manifest, then you will understand what is the divyata between the Lords. So the birth of the forms are eternally existing, they don't born, but how are they manifest? That is very important. So this manifestation of the forms is like this. The Lord has got three parts. He has got his own body, which is known as existence, Sandhini Shakti, and he has got his own prana or his life, from which comes knowledge and everything else, cognizance, and from cognizance comes knowledge. All these things of Lord Krishna is Samvit Shakti, actually. They are coming from Samvit Shakti, and Lord's basically Ananda or emotions are coming from Ladini Shakti. So Lord has got three Shaktis, Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini, and these are the cause of everything, all of existence. The Lord, by changing this Ladini, when she changes, or she creates a new kind of a relationship, bhava, then the Lord's Samvit changes, and then from Sandhini and Samvit and Ladini, when they change, his body also changes. He becomes something else. So, for example, now imagine from Krishna to Balram. Balram is Krishna only, but what has happened? Krishna, he's changed his bhav, or he's tasting a different rasa, Ladini Shakti. And because he wants to be the brother of Krishna, now he wants to taste the bhav of being brother. So Ladini has changed, and then his thought process changes that I am not Krishna, I am the brother of Krishna. So his samvit has changed. And when these two changes, Krishna immediately transforms into Balram. Basically, it's like, of course, this is all eternal happening, it's not chronological. But etymologically, I am talking about it. So Krishna, just like fire, heat and light all exist simultaneously. But fire is the source of heat and light. So this is how I'm describing. It's not a time-based thing. They are all eternally existing forever. It's not that Balram was not there and then Krishna created Balram. It's not like that. But etymologically, from the source and the product point of view, I am discussing this. So in this point of view, if you understand that the Lord now using his Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini, he starts to create all a combination of Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini, which is a Shakti, a combinative Shakti, which is known as Chit Shakti of the Lord. She is the combined form of Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini Shakti, actually. Now we cannot reveal the identity of this Chit Shakti because it is prohibited and it is a secret. So anyways, I cannot reveal it. So but let's call this Shakti as Chit Shakti. She has got many names, but we'll not call her other names because she is very famous. We'll not call those other names anyways. So, but this Chit Shakti is a combination of three Shaktis: Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini. And that is there in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. You can read it. The Chit Shakti is known as the combination of all three Shaktis. That means combination of everything in existence. Because Parasya Shakti Vividaya Shriyate Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriya. Nothing more than a combination. Natat Samascha, nothing more than. Natat Bhyadikash means nothing more. Samas means a combination. Samash means a combination. Nothing more, a combination of that. Tat, what? Jnana Bala Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriya. Everything in existence is nothing more than Natasya Karyam Karanam Cha Vidyate Natat Samasya Bhyadikasya Darshan Parasya Shakti Vivijay Surati. All these Parasya Shakti, hundreds and millions and trillions of Shaktis are nothing but a combination of these three primary Shaktis. And these three Shaktis are Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini. Krishna's own body, Krishna's own mind and Krishna's own emotions. Now the biggest problem here is to understand that in the material world our body, mind, emotions are all dead. And we are the only people who are alive, Jivatma. So we can very easily understand it. I am the life force and everything else is dead. So the body is mine, the mind is mine, the emotions is mine. But Krishna's body, mind and emotions, they are people. In the spiritual world, everything is a person. That's the problem to understand, very complicated. This is so complicated that it is inconceivable to understand how it is. For example, Krishna is nothing more than if you see Krishna, what is he? His body, his prana, and his emotions. Beyond that, what is Krishna? No, right? So Krishna is nothing but just like we are there. Jivatma. What is Jivatma? Sat Chit Ananda. We are Sat. Our body of the Jivatma, soul is Sat. The body, the Jiva part of the soul, Jivatma is Chit Shakti, by which the life is coming for the Jivatma, and Ananda is the emotional part, Ladini Shakti, who is donating a part of our energy to the living entity. So three Shaktis are donating a part and the living entity is formed. Now the living entity is nothing but Sat, Chit and Ananda, that's all. But the problem is Sat is not living entity. Sat is Sandhini Shakti's expansion that is there in the living entity. Chit is Samvit Shakti's presence inside the living entity. And Ananda is Radharani or Ladini Shakti's Shakti which is present in the living entity. These three Shaktis are combining in minute form like a spark. Like fire is heat and light of the fire, similarly the same heat, light and they combine to form a spark. Now this spark, okay, once it is there, now it is eternally there. I am not saying that it is created at some point of it. We are all etymologically saying this, not chronologically. There is no chronology in this. But from the point of source, these three Shaktis are nothing. The soul is nothing more than the combination of these three Shaktis. It has nothing more. But the soul is an individual who is neither of the three Shaktis. Now that is inconceivable to understand. A fourth individual is created. How can that be possible? Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini are combining, but they are forming a fourth individual. An individual known as you, me, all of us. So I am, as an individual, I am neither Sandini, I am neither Samvit and neither Ladini, because these are already individuals. So who am I? I am an individual who is created from Sandini, Samvit and Ladini, but neither am I Sandini, neither am I Samvit, neither am I Ladini. I am an individual beyond Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. I am a product of Sandini, Samvit, Ladini, but I am still not Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. I am a unique individual, Swarat. I have got an individuality which is separate from all others. I can cognitively recognize myself as I've got sentience, I've got consciousness, and I can observe things. I can, as an individual. Now this becomes a very difficult task to understand. Okay, how can you be, what is individuality? How do you define individuality? It's inconceivable to understand. How can something be more than the sum of its parts? They say the whole is more than the sum of its parts. This is how we can understand. The whole, the sum of its parts is Sandini, Samvit, Ladini, is the sum of the parts. But the whole that the Jivatma is formed, it is more than that. It has got one more consciousness, a separate individual consciousness. That is known as you, individuality. That is the entire basis of personalism. The entire personalism is based on individuality. The Lord is an individual, you are individuals. So individuality is, but if you just break down the individuality, there is no individual. Like Sandini is a separate, she is a Mataji. Samvit is a Mataji and Ladini is a Mataji. These three Matajis are combining in various forms and they are creating millions of Jivatmas. But each Jivatma is an individual who is not neither Sandini nor Samvit nor Ladini. How can you understand? He is a product of Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. Now, the same logic when we apply to Krishna, he is the source of Sandini, Samvit, Ladini, but he is neither Sandini, Samvit nor Ladini. He is the source of it. So in one sense, he is non-different from Sandini, he is non-different from Samvit, and he is non-different from Ladini. Why? Because he is the source. He is Shaktiman. So Shaktiman and Shaktis are not different from each other. So Krishna is nothing more than Sandini, Samvit, Ladini only. His own body, his own mind, his own emotions. What can be more than that in there? But still, as an individual, Krishna is neither Sandini nor Samvit nor Ladini. So who is Krishna? Krishna is an individual who is the source of Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. And we are individuals who are the product of Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. But we are not Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. Neither is Krishna Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. This is the whole inconceivable part that happens. So as an individual, individuality is something that is impossible to conceive. The sum is more than the source of its parts. So this whole thing is coming to that actually. The product is more than the sum of its parts or something like that. So if you just take Krishna apart, if you say Krishna, what is Krishna? Krishna is Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. Nothing more than that. But he is individual, separate from Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. Just like we are also Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. But we are individuals separate from Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. The individuality is there. So Krishna is the source of that Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. We are the product of Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. But as individuals, we are separate. Krishna is neither Sandini, nor Samvit, nor Ladini. So the point that happens here is, it's a very, very intricate point to understand. As an individual, Krishna is separate. Although the whole of existence is Krishna, but as an individual, he is separate. He is not a part of the existence. Although existence is his own part. So he is inconceivably one and different from his products. Like he is a source of Sandini, he is source of Samvit, he is source of Radharani, Ladini. But Radharani is not Krishna. She is not different from Krishna. But still she is not Krishna. As an individual, she is not Krishna. You cannot say Radha and Krishna are one, means Radha is Krishna only. So tomorrow onwards I will not call Radha, but I'll call her Krishna. I'll call her Krishna only. She is Krishna. We can't do like that. That is Mayavad again. So Radharani, although is a part of Krishna, she is emanating from Krishna, and she is non-different because she is part of Krishna's body. She is a part of Krishna's emotions. Similarly, Sandini is the Krishna's body. Samvit is Krishna's life. Oh my God, life source. Krishna's prana. Krishna's very cognitive function is a person. This is the height of personalism. Impersonalist people, they can't understand. They cannot understand this concept. So impersonalists say that there can... No, how can this be possible? They say that we all merge and become one individual. Everybody becomes Krishna only. There is no Radha, there is no Sandini, there is no Ladini, there is no Jivatma. Everybody is Krishna, or everybody is Brahman, and Brahman itself does not have cognitive force. So it's just a force, it's just existence. So these people cannot understand that everybody is an individual in spiritual world. Krishna's own body is an individual. Krishna's own mind is an individual. Krishna's own life force is an individual. Krishna's own emotion is an individual. We don't have such concepts in the material world. Impossible to have such concepts. But in the spiritual world, such concepts are there, and this is the whole thing. And Krishna's own body, mind, what do you say? Who is Krishna? Krishna is nothing but his own body, Krishna's mind, Krishna's prana force, and Krishna's emotion. How do you say Krishna is more than that? No, but Krishna is more than his body. Krishna is more than his mind. Krishna is more than, as an individual, he is separate from even his body, mind, and his cognitive force. His emotions, cognitive force, and mind. Krishna is separate from that. Just like, as you say, Jivatma is nothing but Sat, Chit and Ananda. But no, if it is Sat, Chit and Ananda, then there should be 3 persons in a Jiva. No, it's one singular person, Jivatma. Although the energy of Jivatma's Sat or his body is coming from Sandhini, his body is a part of Sandhini's, Shakti. His mind is a part of Samvit Shakti. All his cognitive force, everything is being monitored by Chit Shakti or Samvit Shakti. And Krishna's emotions, Jivatma's emotions are coming from Ladini. But still, after his emotions is controlled by Radharani, actually in the spiritual world. And his thought process is controlled by Samvit Shakti. His body is determined by Sandhini Shakti, as per Krishna's instruction. But with all these things, he still is an individual. He still is an observer. He still is a consciousness. He is a sentient being, separate from Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini. That is inconceivable. How can you, when you divide a Jivatma, you only get 3 parts, Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini. There is nothing more to that, to a Jivatma. But when you combine these 3, there is a 4th person created. That is only individual. A person who is separate from all the 3. That is difficult to understand. That is inconceivable to understand, in fact. How can a 4th person be created from 3 things? Who is this 4th person? And that is inconceivable. That 4th person is the individual. If you just cut that individual, you only get 3 parts, nothing more than that. Sat, Chit and Anand, that's all. But the individuality, the person is the person who is experiencing everything. The person, the Jivatma, that person who is formed as a result, that person is different from Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini. In the same way, Krishna now is a source of Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini, but as a person he is separate from Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini. He is neither Sandhini nor Samvit nor Ladini. But he is nothing more than Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini. Fire is nothing more than heat and light. But fire is separate from heat and light. As an individual, if you say fire is separate, if heat was supposed to be a person, like Radharani, and light was supposed to be a person, like Samvit Shakti, then fire is supposed to be Krishna. So fire is nothing but heat. Heat plus light is fire. It's over, nothing more than that. But fire as a person is separate from heat as a person and light as a person. So this is the extraordinary thing. And heat and light, everything is controlled by fire. He is the person who determines, do this, do that, do this. According to his desire, heat and light will work. So same way, as per Krishna's desire, Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini will work. It's not the other way around. For us, it is ulta. We work according to Sandhini, Samvit and Ladini. We are product. So we were controlled by Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini. But he is the controller of Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini. So his desire will determine Radharani's desire. And she will work according to, as a servant, she will carry out Krishna's desire. Although she is the emotion of Krishna. Can you imagine? Emotion cannot have individuality, but in the spiritual world, emotion can have individuality. And the person who is the individual behind all the individuality is also individual, Krishna. So 3 individuals are there. Krishna is nothing but combination of 3 individuals. Sandhini as an individual, Samvit as an individual, Ladini as an individual, Krishna. But still he is an individual separate from these 3 individuals. Although he is nothing more than combination of these 3 individuals. Still he is separate from these 3 individuals and is beyond the 3 individuals. Same with the Jivatma. Although Jivatma is nothing more combination of Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini. But still Jivatma is a conscient living being who is separate, who is experiencing all the world, everything separately. Although if you divide him, there is nothing more than 3 parts. But if you join the 3 parts, he is the 4th part is also there. The 4th part is known as individual. That is inconceivable, impossible to conceive. How can 1 plus 1 plus 1 should be 3, but here 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. That is the problem. That is inconceivable. How can 1 plus 1 plus 1 be 4? 1 Sandhini plus 1 Samvit plus 1 Ladini is equal to Sandhini, Samvit, Ladini. No, 4th part is there. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. And the 4th part is the individual who is created. And that individual is separate from all the 3. He's a fourth person, and he has his own choice, just like Jivatma has his own choice. He can stay in the material world, he can go to the spiritual world, he can do this, he can do that. He experiences everything. He gets into pain, he gets into suffering. When he gets into pain, doesn't mean Sandini will suffer or Samvit will suffer. That he only suffers. The experience is his. Although he is nothing more than the combination of these three things. That is the inconceivable part. Similarly, the Lord is the source of Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. Now, when the Lord changes his mood, when he wants to become Balram, what does the Lord do? He changes his bhav, that I am the brother of Krishna. His rasa is changed now. I am not Krishna, I am brother of Krishna. So his Ladini is changed. Then his thought process is changed. That is, he's the way he conceives the world. Cognition is changed. Oh, I am not Krishna, I am Krishna's elder brother. So he'll think like that. So his Samvit has changed. And as he changes his thinking, feeling and willing, various incarnations are created. All as per the bhav, what he wants to reciprocate with his devotees. Like Narsimhadev, he wants to reciprocate a particular bhav. So all these things are eternally happening. There is no chronology for this. But by changing his Sandini, Samvit and Ladini, all forms are created. So why is Krishna known as formless? Simple answer. As an individual, he is even beyond Sandini, Samvit and Ladini. And forms are all created through Sandini, Samvit and Ladini. So as an individual, he is Arupa. Beyond even Sandini, Samvit and Ladini. He is the individual behind Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. So, of course, Sandini, Samvit, Ladini is nothing more than him only. It's him only, if you see. His own body is Sandini. But as an individual, he is separate. So, as an individual, so now when he wants to change his mood, every time he changes his mood, he becomes Jagannath when he goes into ecstasy. And when he goes into Radharani's ecstasy, Ladini ecstasy, he becomes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When he becomes 200 Krishna, sometimes 400 Krishna, sometimes like a Varahadev, sometimes like Kurmadev, sometimes like Narsimhadev. Now you'll say Krishna has got many forms. So which is the form? What is form? Here, which is the form? You'll say, is this form? Is that form? Is that form? All are eternal forms. All are eternal forms. And all those forms are just changes of his thinking, feeling and willing. Prabhupada says that when Krishna, by changing his thinking, feeling, willing, he expands into multiple forms. So all expansions are happening by when he is thinking that I am the first expansion of original expansion of Krishna is there in the Chaitanya teachings of Lord Chaitanya. It's mentioned that that is known as Swayam Rupa. That is when Krishna is thinking himself to be a cowherd boy of Vrindavan. Thinking. So the thinking, feeling and willing. Willing is the actual Sandini, basically this thing. So thinking, feeling and willing causes, the original thing is the Krishna. That's how he thinks, feels and wills. I'm a cowherd boy of Vrindavan. Then he starts changing the thinking, feeling, willing, everything he's saying. I am the brother of Krishna, then he becomes Balram. I am this, I am Narsimhadev, I am a half lion, half man. And he starts believing that he becomes another person. So all these forms of the Lord are nothing but changing in his very own thinking, feeling, willing, which are nothing but his own body only, which is his own mind only, his own. So they are not different from Krishna. It's same. Shakti and Shaktiman are not different. But this Linga, all these things of the Krishna, they are working under Krishna as an individual. Who is the individual? His individual is even beyond thinking, feeling and willing. Just like we all individuals are beyond Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. So in that sense, the Lord is, by changing his body, mind and emotions, which are three devotees, by changing those devotees, one is Radharani, one is Sandini Shakti, one is Samvit Shakti. By changing these three Shaktis, by manipulating these Shaktis, millions and unlimited forms of the Lord are created. Unlimited. And each form looks totally different from the other form. Totally different from the other form. So he has so many forms that he has no form, you can say, in that sense. Because ultimately, as per the moment he thinks, he becomes something else. Like when Krishna is looking at a gopi, he becomes more beautiful. His form has changed. When gopi looks at Krishna, she becomes more happy. Her form has changed. Then Lord looks at the gopi that she has become more happy. Then his form has changed. So his form keeps on changing. Continuously, unlimited forms. More than you can't describe how many Lord has forms. Unlimitedly he keeps on. Anandam, Buddhi, Vardhanam. His forms are changing. So who is the individual? Who is the one who is enjoying everything? Who is the enjoyer? That is Krishna. As an individual, he is the Krishna. And what is the possessive? What does he possess? He possesses a body. He possesses a mind. And he possesses emotions. That he possesses those things. As an individual, he possesses those things. So Sandini, Samvit and Ladini are his possessions, but they are themselves are individuals. So in the spiritual world, everything is an individual. That is a complicated thing. So he possesses three individuals and he is the source of these three individuals, but these three individuals are nothing but him. How can you say call them different from him? He is one and same as Radharani, because his own emotions, if I say my emotions is a different person, I am a different, you can't say like that. Your emotions and your emotions are part of you. But if your emotion were to be an individual who has an individual cognizance like Radharani, then you have to understand that as an individual you are different from the emotions. In the material world, there is no such example. In the material world, the emotions are dead. The body is dead. The mind is dead. Jivatma is the only living force. So when you say, I possess the body, that means the body is all dead. They are not individuals. So you are not different from the body in that sense. In the material world, you are not different actually, fully. You are not different from the body completely, because everything else is dead. You are the only person alive. But in the spiritual world, because Krishna's body is also alive and it has got a separate consciousness known as Sandini Shakti, and she works under Krishna's direction. Krishna's own body, Janma Desyata, from which the whole existence is coming out. That thing itself is an individual. That is why he as an individual is different from his body, Krishna. Although you can say there is no difference between Krishna and Krishna's body. Yes, there is no difference between Krishna and Krishna's body. But that is achintya bheda abheda. As an individual, you cannot say Sandini is equal to Krishna. So if you say that Sandini is equal to Krishna, you become Mayavadi. Why? Because if you say Radharani is equal to Krishna, Shakti is equal to Shaktiman, then it is Mayavad. So the problem is, if you say Krishna has got form, that becomes Mayavad. Now this is the biggest shocking thing in the world. If you say Krishna has got form, or Krishna is the form, that is also can be Mayavad. Why? Because then you are saying the form is nothing but Sandini, Samvit, Ladini. So you are equating Krishna directly to Radharani, or you are saying Krishna is equal to Radharani, Krishna is equal to Sandini, then that becomes a problem. But they are individuals, separate individuals. But Krishna is as an individual, he is different from them. Achintya bheda abheda. As an individual, Radharani is different from Krishna. But as a Shakti, she is non-different from Krishna, because Krishna's own emotion is non-different from Krishna. In the material world, it's impossible. As an individual, my emotions and me are absolutely non-different, because emotions are dead. They exist only because emotions are also me only, actually, in the material world. When the spiritual world, emotions also is a person known as Radhini. Although fire and heat are non-different from each other, heat and fire as individuality, if they both have individuality, if fire was a person and heat was a person and light was a person, fire is nothing more than heat plus light. But as an individual, if fire were to individual A, heat is individual B, and light is individual C, then as an individual, fire is separate from heat and light. Although fire is non-different from heat and light. Achintya bheda abheda. Achintya. Because as an individual, he is different from Radharani. Krishna is different from Radharani. He is an individual. Radharani loves Krishna. He is an individual. He is different from Radharani. But as a product of his Shaktis, Shaktiman and Shakti are non-different from each other. So in that way. But Balram and Krishna, of course, there is no individuality there. They are all same, because all incarnations of Krishna are nothing but Krishna under illusion, under Yoga Maya, thinking that he is something different. Split personality syndrome, that's all, nothing else. But the split personality is there in the material world also. When a person gets split into multiple, he thinks himself to be different people. That is simply thinking himself to be different people, but he is actually, if you see all incarnations of Krishna, right from Narsimha Dev, Vaman Dev, they are all actually Krishna only, who are thinking themselves to be different people. That I am Narsingh Dev, I am Balram, I am this, but they are all Krishna only. I am Vishnu. He's thinking I am a very mature person, I am Vishnu, but he's actually a child at heart. He is Krishna. Vishnu is nothing but Krishna only, thinking himself to be Vishnu. So they are not individually, they are not different. But Radharani and Krishna are individually different, because one is Shaktiman and one is Shakti. So you have to understand this very clearly, that the Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva exists only in between Krishna and his Shaktis, Krishna and Lord Shiva. That thing exists, and Krishna and Jivatma. Such kind of things can exist. But between Krishna and the Shaktis, it can exist. But between Krishna and Krishna, it doesn't exist. They are the same individuals. There is no individual difference. There is no Achintya Bheda. Although you can say there is, some kind of Achintya Bheda. That is a false kind of Achintya Bheda. There is no Achintya Bheda really when between Krishna and Balram, or between Krishna and Gopinath and Gopinath and Sham Sundar and Sakshi Gopal and Jagannath. Sakshi Gopal may fight with Jagannath. That's just a Leela. Just like a person who's mad, he's just playing with himself like that. That's just like Leela. But they are the same person. There is no difference. The personality has not changed. One person only, the same single person. But when you talk to Krishna's own body, Krishna's own mind, Krishna's own Sudarshan Chakra, Krishna's own Kaustubha jewel, all of these things are individuals separate from Krishna. Although they are all emanating from Krishna. Individually they are different. Fire is heat and light. There is no meaning to fire without heat and light. But if fire were an individual and heat were an individual and light were an individual, then as an individual, fire is different from heat and light. Heat and light will obey fire. Whatever fire commands, that heat and light will do. It's like you are having your own body. Imagine your stomach was an individual, your hand was an individual, your leg was an individual. Everybody is an individual. So they are all obeying your commands because you as an individual are the whole body. The body is you as an individual, but your hand is a separate individual, leg is a separate individual, and all of them coordinating properly, as per your desire. So then such kind of examples are not there in the material world, only in spiritual world. Krishna, imagine your body, your kidney, your liver, all of them are individuals. Okay, separate individuals, separate devotees. All are your devotees, and you are the Supreme Lord, and you are the body. As a whole body, you call yourself as Raghunath Puridas or whatever you want to call yourself. Like you are the whole body. Now, although you are the whole body, you are the controller of the body. You are the complete source of the body. But your body is comprised of each and every individual. Everybody is individual, separately. So when you say that, are you the body? No, I am not exactly the body, because even though I am non-different from my body, even then I am different from my body, because as an individual I am separate. Because my body comprises of multiple individuals who are working in coordination and all serving me. Now, of course, I'm talking about a spiritual body. I'm not talking about a material body. Imagine you're a spiritual body with spiritual kidneys, spiritual liver, spiritual lungs. Because material body is completely different from the soul. That's a different thing. So the conception is not there. Imagine you have a spiritual body with a spiritual lungs, spiritual everything. And each part of your spiritual body was a separate individual. Okay. And they're all working under you. And you are the source of that. You as a whole body is the source of all your parts and parcels. That is Krishna. You are Krishna, imagine. So in that sense, in that logic, I'm just using a logic. So in that logic, you as an individual will be separate from the sum of your parts. You will be controlling the whole body. The whole body has come from you, but you are still different from the body. Although you are not. So it's achintya. It's inconceivable. Each part of your body is an individual, and you are separate from the body. So in that sense, if you say the Lord has form, that means the Lord is the form. If you say, or Lord is Rupam. It will be Mayavad. Why it will be Mayavad? Because you're comparing that the form of the Lord is created through Sandini. So you are comparing the Lord to Sandini. That Lord and Sandini are same person. Individually they are same. Individually they cannot be same. So Lord is beyond even form. That you have to say in that sense. Because the form itself is an individual who is a devotee of Krishna. So the individuality is so high. Everybody is individual. So Mayavadi is all about not having individualism. Everything is like, without individuality. Everybody is dead. But actual reality is that when you understand the oneness of everybody is one with Krishna, yet different from Krishna. When you understand that, you will understand that everybody is an individual in spiritual world. So that is the height of personalism, not the height of impersonalism. It's the height of personalism. When you understand this oneness, when you understand that everything is one with Krishna, yet everything, as a devotee, we are all part of Krishna. Even I am a part of Krishna's body. We are all part of Krishna's plan, the universal body of Krishna. We are all part of that. All the mountains, everything is a part of Krishna. But at the same time, as individuals, we are separate from Krishna. We are not Krishna. Similarly, Ladini, Shakti, Radharani is not Krishna. Sandini is not Krishna. Krishna's form is not Krishna. In that sense only, as an individual, because Krishna's form is an individual. Remember that. Krishna's form is a person who is known as Sandhini Shakti, she is a lady. She is a devotee of Krishna. So she cannot be Krishna. Krishna's form is a lady and she has her own individuality. So hence she cannot be equal to Krishna. So Krishna is formless. Very complicated, but I hope I don't sound like a Mayavadi in this. Please. It's that achintya. Hare Krishna.